Hey everybody, welcome. It's been a while since I did an interview, and I wanted to hop in here and start doing some more interviews. Today, I'm lucky enough to speak with a good friend of mine, CEO and co-founder of TurboPass, which is a tech startup here in Austin, Texas. His name is Mike Jarman, and he's going to tell us all about the way that TurboPass is kind of reinvigorating and redoing the way that we finance cars. So, Mike, welcome
Thanks.
to this
Thanks,
little
David.
interview.
Appreciate you having me.
Of
Thank
course.
you.
How things going?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Yes,
Things rolling good in
fantastic.
the new year?
We're having a great January, finishing up a sort of a Kickstarter style crowdfunding campaign, and rolling up different pilots with new dealer groups and also some lenders. So we're excited.
Good stuff. So tell us all about what TurboPass is. Obviously, I know quite a bit about it, but you guys are working in the auto finance space. How are you guys making that better?
Yeah, so obviously everybody can probably relate to what, and asking why things take so long. And really it boils down to there's just a lack of trust in the industry. We have, obviously customers, it's very hard for them to trust dealers. Dealers also don't trust customers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the lenders, they pretty much don't trust anybody because
Right.
we've seen an increase in what's called origination fraud, go from about a $2 billion a year problem to over 7 billion will be measured here in 2019. So this is really because of, unfortunately, we have some parties that are kind of dealing with paper, right? So we've got two really big overhanging problems in the industry. And so that big one is fraud, of course. And then we're still dealing with paper.
Mm.
And so we're digitizing a process that has traditionally, over the past 30 years, has been
All paper.
Been all paper.
Yeah, kind of a pain.
And so if your credit isn't perfect, you're probably gonna go through a little bit of pain. And then same pain you're going through as a customer or shopper, the dealer is going through the same pain because he's having to stack up all this stuff and then
Right.
pass it along to the lender. It creates all kinds of privacy issues, and
Right.
so we're just making that faster.
So the last time I bought a car was in 2015 or so.
Yep.
And I remember it's just not a fun process. Like I enjoy driving off the car or the lot with
That's
the car.
the fun part,
right?
It's fun.
Like the test driving, the shopping, driving off. But like having to go in the office and they say they need this document and that document and then having to provide those or dig them up. It's not a lot of fun.
Yep.
And it takes forever. Like you sit there forever and just what is taking so long. So explain to us how. Let's start from the customer's perspective.
Yep.
How does this make it quicker for the customer?
So we have envisioned a way for the consumer to actually use TurboPass as a sort of pre-shopping tool. So, about 10 years ago, we had Carfax come out
Right.
as a vehicle history report, and it was a way for the customer to get educated about the collateral, right, that the dealer was presenting to the customer. Well, because fraud has grown so much, we really are creating a way for the consumer to kind of true themselves up, because at the end of the day, that's really what the dealer wants to know is
Right.
who are you and how are you going to pay? And if you can go ahead and validate and certify some of those things ahead of time, the metaphor I use is kind of the Disney Fast Pass. So
Right.
before you go with your family and your 17 cousins and nephews and aunts and uncles and everything, you kind of want to get yourself staged properly and,
Right.
and hit the park the right way. So you get your fast pass to hit the rides without having to wait. So,
Right.
so really it's about a 2-minute process that you can link up your TurboPass with things like, the other thing the banks want to know is where do you live and is that a validated address?
Right.
And do you have history there? So if you have a gas bill, water bill, utility, mobile phone, you can link that information up. So now we've covered identity, we've covered ability to pay, and we've covered residence proof, which are the things that a dealer needs to make a car deal. And then that information can get passed along to their lenders, and it's all private, it's digital. And so the people that need to know will be able to see
Right.
it and access it using kind of a blockchain, sort of a key code or pass. We call it a turbo pass that works all the way through, all the way through to the lender.
So these things like your pay stubs, if you're self-employed, you need tax returns. Like you need to prove your identity. These things are called STIPs, right?
Yep.
So STIPs are just basically what the lender and what the dealer need in order to verify who you are and that you can pay.
You got it.
Now it's just a pain to provide all those documents. From the dealership standpoint, okay, how do they use TurboPass? Is it the point where the customer's about ready to get to buy the car? How do they get that information from the TurboPass?
Well, we've been learning for the past 2 years. I like to call what a startup is really a learning organization. So you're always learning. You're always letting the market. You're letting your users tell you whether your theories are right. And so even though we might have come in the first year and presenting these tools, these new digital tools for the dealers, they were excited. But old habits die very, very hard, especially when you've been in the business for 20 years, 30 years, and it's always worked the old way, which is, hey, I can always just tell the customer to go get his stuff,
right?
And then I'll just work on this other deal. And then the salesman has to deal with it. So what we figured out was that the tool can't be used. It's almost too late by the time it hits the sales desk or the time it hits the finance office. So what we're training now is to allow the salesman to initiate that process and just place the TurboPass order with the customer during that kind of customer interview, customer statement perspective. So when a customer starts to say, I'm interested in credit, I'm interested in having a car payment or whatever of less than 400 or whatever, we start budgeting that. A lot of these dealer groups, because we're dealing with credit applications and we're applying for credit with banks, so across state lines, one of the most dangerous conversations that's happening in these dealerships today is having a salesman and a customer having this conversation of a very difficult to answer a question like, how much money do you make?
Right. It's not a comfortable question for a lot of people to ask.
Absolutely. Not only that, it's kind of subjective because if you are not, you're like 50% of the population now. Forbes magazine wrote that 50% of the population will gain some form of freelance income
right
by 2020, right? So it's 2020. And right now, I still have lenders telling me we only accept W-2 wages.
Even though you have income coming in, they can't use that. It's hard for them to verify and validate that.
Or assets like $1 million because we just maybe I sold my last company, and we're working on my next company, right? So there's just a gap in the market where the conversation goes a little something like this. Maybe even if your credit's really good, and say you are that CEO that sold the business, but you're not working necessarily at a traditional job.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have the money to buy the car.
Of course,
the paperwork's kind of
there's workarounds, unfortunately, that the dealers have to play with because of the way the structure of the industry is currently. And it's all based on this income thing, income. When in fact, we obviously do this every day in our lives. We service debt through other savings. We might cash out some early retirement stuff. And we have 3 other businesses. My wife's got a taco truck. Like we're hustling.
Right. And
this is just America now. And I think this FICO predictable score is a mismatch to what people are currently able to do as it relates to their debt service.
Okay. Let me ask you this. So from a functionality perspective, so I'm a customer, I need a new car, I want to go buy that 4Runner that we've been looking at for a while. But I'm self-employed, right? So it's a little bit kind of off. So do I bring the TurboPass to you, or does the dealer give the TurboPass to the customer? What's the functionality?
Yeah, actually right now, today, it's really the dealer who will immediately, instead of slowing everything down and sending you away to go get all that, we give the dealer a simple dashboard where they can send you a text.
Okay.
So it's as simple as, hey, instead of bringing all this stuff, I'm going to send you a text.
Okay.
The customer says, great. If I can speed up the process, super. So they'll get an invitation from the dealer. It's the proper inviting party. That's the first creditor is the dealership. So it's an invitation, let's say, from Charles Mont Toyota, would like to have you connect your residence information. So you connect your gas bill or whatever. And if we need the proof of income, they would send you like an invitation for you to link up some of your financial institution
like
stuff,
a bank account? Okay.
like a bank account, or now even some employers pay people through prepaid Visa cards, and that's run through a system called NetSpend. Some people run their business on PayPal, right? So we connect to all those things, all those modern ways people get compensated, but it's super hard to prove at a showroom floor on a Saturday.
Right.
Whenever you've got, you're competing with 5 desk managers and there's 38 people outside trying to buy a car.
Right.
You're going to the bottom of the stack if you don't
have your stuff.
You have your stuff. And even if you do, it's going to take too long to look through all that.
So from my perspective, looking from the outside in, as a consumer, I know what that process is like. It's not fun until you get the keys. It's not fun.
And we actually depicted that very well in our video.
Right. Yes, we did. And then also, I mean, I used to work in auto finance as well.
Yep.
So I understand how hard it is to get STIPs. And a lot of times the deal drags out for a really long time. And sometimes the deal drags out so much that you lose the deal.
Yep.
So obviously you have 3 different value propositions. I want to talk about the lenders in a second, but for the first 2 parties, the consumer and the dealer, to me, I'm thinking as a consumer, I'm in and out. I'm getting my keys.
Yep.
And as a dealer, I'm getting through that deal quicker and I'm not having to worry about STIPs. So is that kind of...
Not worrying about STIPs, also getting to the truth. We pretty much just push this, our value proposition is get to the truth so we can roll more deals. As a dealer, you need to understand what the reality is of your car deal and the structure. The last thing a dealer needs to figure out is that they spent 2 hours with you negotiating a car, and then they find out, oh, we don't qualify, or I need to get extra stuff.
Right.
It drags out 3 or 4 days. You got to remember, when a dealer sells a car and it rolls off that lot, the clock is ticking for them on their what we call floor plan financing.
Okay.
So they have to pay that vehicle off to their bank that has it financed. And so if you don't have your paperwork in, even if you're missing just proof of residence, like as simple as a gas bill.
Right.
A gas bill is going to hold up $40,000 lease deal or something.
Right.
Meanwhile, the dealer has to pay off that car, right, to their floor plan bank.
Right.
And so it's a cash flow tool that is a real game changer for dealers. They're on the hook. So the whole game that dealers, the challenge dealers have today is really a cash float.
Like a bottleneck almost.
They have a bottleneck of cash because if they sell 200 cars on a weekend between, say, 3 stores, they have millions of dollars on the street.
Right.
In reality.
Right.
And
so it's a problem.
It's a problem, and it's also something that we just keep making the mistake over and over because we want to sell cars. Everybody gets excited, and oh, boss, he's just going to bring us the gas bill on Monday.
Bring it when he can.
He'll bring it when he can, and the next thing you know, you got 2 weeks, 3 weeks out
It's
on a
dangerous
deal,
for the dealer,
and it's super dangerous for the dealer, and it just doesn't make any sense for them long term.
Okay. So from a consumer perspective and the dealer's perspective, this obviously makes sense.
Yeah.
The lender perspective, they're in a tough spot. They're not typically in that dealership. They're not typically in that sales office.
Right.
They've got a lot of risk. There's a lot of fraud that goes on. How does TurboPass fit into making sure they feel more comfortable lending $40,000 to that consumer?
Well, that has been the challenge that up until TurboPass, we have had. We're kind of living in a stated income world where we really just take the word of whatever the customer says they make, And if the dealer requires proof, then it's, we slow it all down like we
Right.
talked about. The lender, one thing people have to understand is this is what we're describing. This transaction is called an indirect
Correct.
auto financing arrangement. And so there is an arrangement that dealer has as the seller. They have the right under the state's Retail Installment Act of Texas, for example.
Okay.
They are able to then take that paper that you sign the contract with the seller, right? You got a buyer and a seller. Those are the parties to the contract. At the bottom of that contract, it has an assignment section. And so the dealer can assign that over, let's say, to Ford Credit.
Got it.
Or GM Financial, right? Or Chrysler Capital. So those lenders, and there's dozens of others, each dealer has probably 40 or 50 lending relationships like that. And so the dealer is engaged in two transactions, really. One with you as the buyer, and then they're behind the scenes doing a commercial transaction.
Right.
It's kind of a B2B transaction.
Okay.
And by law, it's that marketplace behind the scenes is kind of bidding for your loan, your receivable, right?
Right. And
so the winner of that lottery, let's say, isn't always necessarily the one that 100% benefits the customer, but also it has to benefit everybody. So you're creating like a three-way win.
Right.
Everybody's got to win across those three markets or those three parties. And so when the lender makes the bid, let's say there's 4 bids for the same deal, because obviously they see that you have pretty good credit or whatever, but they just need to prove the income.
Right.
And so let's say 3 of them require proof of income, STIPs, like we talked about.
Yep.
But one of them says, no STIPs. So that means the dealer, even though the rate perhaps could be slightly higher, would rather go the path of least resistance and let's go with the no STIPs call.
Right.
So we don't have to hassle with it.
Right.
So the lender sometimes that gets that deal, that wins the deal, ends up really losing, and they kind of maybe get put together on what's called adverse selection.
Okay.
So everybody that said this guy's got to prove it, that fourth lender that says we're going to look the other way, they're actually maybe getting a deal that isn't the smartest decision. But at the end of the day, the lenders want to pay the deal quicker because they know that they can get more originations if they can do less hassle.
Got it.
So we're working with some lenders to come out with some no STIPs programs.
Okay.
If they do the Turbo Pass and it passes the things that we train for them to look for, like the name matches, right? The identity matches the bank account and the residence is proved, then we have some regional finance companies right now that are testing no STIPs programs, and the dealers are kind of loving that.
Well, why wouldn't they?
They're like,
why wouldn't they? That's a big deal.
Yep.
And it's really cool that you are simultaneously positively impacting 3 different areas of a very, very complex system, and a system that's been in place for a while.
Yep.
And like you said, is very ingrained in our culture right now, kind of how we go about buying vehicles. But right now, you guys are able to kind of speed that up and make the whole situation better for everybody.
Yep. Thank you.
I do want to talk about who you're already partnering with, and then I also want to talk about your current crowdfunding campaign.
Sure.
So from a consumer's perspective, is there a way for them to get a Turbo Pass before they go to the dealer?
Yes.
Is that easy for them to do?
Especially in markets where we have some good dealer coverage. Like right now, I would say in Austin, we can feel confident that if you go to myturbopass.com, you just get your Turbo Pass code. We issue you a little code with a funny little animal name, and then we can send you actually to 2 dealerships in Austin. Actually, I don't mind telling you who they are.
Sure. So there's a couple dealerships in Austin that are already participating.
Each with over 1,000 cars, used cars. One is a Toyota store.
Okay.
Charles Mon Toyota was one of our early dealers testing and validating the tool. And then Capital Chevrolet down in South Austin. So if somebody walks in and says, I have a Turbo Pass, we might have to work through exactly who you need to go talk to, but
But you can
they're
already
going to
have
know what that is.
So Charlemont and Capital Chevrolet are pretty big dealerships here in Austin. I think
Yeah,
everybody pretty much
They're
knows
the
them.
two biggest, actually.
Yeah, they're everybody knows them. So we're looking for a forerunner, my
Yeah.
fiance and I. So I can say, hey, just what was it? What was the
MyTurboPass.com.
myturbopass.com. I download, so I could go into the dealership with all my steps on my app.
Yep.
Here you go, bam, in and out.
You
That's
got
awesome. Okay. So in the dealerships that you guys are currently working with, is it just those two in Austin? You guys deal with other
No, we
dealerships
actually
around?
have one down in San Marcos. We have a few dealers now in San Antonio. We have, probably over 50 dealers around the country. Some are independent. Some are affiliated with a franchise like Toyota or
Okay.
Honda. But what we're kind of trying to hit two sides of the coin kind of at the same time.
Sure.
And because it's a little bit of a chicken or the egg. The dealers tell us, hey, this is a game changer. We would use this, Mike, if you can get those lenders to accept it, to say it officially, like make it part of their policy. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to calculate? Because every lender has slightly different rules and nuances of their programs.
Okay.
So so the dealers say we'll use it if the lenders will accept it. The lenders tell us, yeah, we'd love to get this information.
Right.
It's true. It's validated. It's from the source. But can you get the dealers to do it?
Right.
So we got kind of an agreement from both sides.
Okay.
But we need more sparks. And some of those sparks are going to be really, can we possibly drive some sales into the dealership? Right. Can we create some leads? Can we create some people that are already ready to shop and ready to go with their truthful, direct source information, provide it to the dealer, get a no hassle experience.
Right.
A true digital retail this is a buzzword in the car business for the last 5 years. Digital retail, and everybody can give you a fast approval, super fast approval,
right.
a soft pull
everywhere.
and all that. But it's really not, it's not worth the paper it's written on unless there's validation all the way on the back end, and it's still subject to verification and validation.
Okay.
So if we can take some of the processes that usually happen on the back end of a deal, of a loan at the bank, at the lender, and put that all the way to the front end, on a customer's app, on their phone, right? On a code even, that all they share with is this funny little animal name, like
right.
I'm 512XYZ, blue koala.
Okay.
And then if the dealer doesn't know what you're talking about, just say, go to nostips.com and you can look at my report. And the dealer's like, what do you mean no stips? Because they love that, right? They love no stips.
And customers don't usually know what a stip is. So when you tell them nostips.com, they're like, well, you know about stips? Okay, I got to check this out. So they can get a free report. They can see your report for free. It's we have a subscription model, and dealers are really our first subscribers. Okay.
So we're kind of setting up, I would call it like the roads and the plumbing of the neighborhood first. Infrastructure has to get built. The lenders have to understand what's coming. The dealers need to know what this is. And then, hopefully we become a brand that customers can kind of walk in with, like a show me the Carfax style thing. And the dealer's got to go, what the heck is this Carfax? Well, now every deal has to have a vehicle history report,
right? Either
from Carfax or Auto Check, which are the two big ones.
Yep.
We just hope to be one of those that kind of validates.
So what I think is cool about your company, a lot of entrepreneurial startups, is that you'll see a system, you'll see something, and you kind of find a way to make it better. And when you spearhead something like that, especially in an industry that's kind of, like I said, ingrained in the way we've been doing things for a while, it's hard to break into that.
Not easy. Yeah.
You got to plant the seed and let it break the rock apart after a while. But you guys are doing an awesome job with that. Very impressed that you guys are in Charlemont and Capital Chevrolet, those huge dealerships. And I know you guys are already working with a few lenders.
Oh, yeah.
So talk to us about that.
So the lenders are a little more shy. They're a little more camera shy.
Sure.
Although I used to work, I was, I guess, technically employee number one at what is now become Santander, Consumer USA, Chrysler Capital. I was with the startup team with Tom Dundon and Tom Brower and all those guys. So we have relationships, obviously, in the industry. I worked for Capital One Auto Finance for 7 years.
Okay.
We are also talking to another large full spectrum credit auto lender
Okay.
that wants to pilot with like 25 dealerships, and we've nominated those stores because we've actually had dealers say, okay, go get me this lender and this lender, or this one or that one.
Okay.
And so once we come back to them and say, hey guys, we have this big bank that will now test it, but you need to use it. Those are the conversations we're having now in January, February.
Okay.
So the big one I can share, obviously, we've been in pilot in kind of limited geography, but most of the funding department, the credit area of Westlake Financial, huge company,
Okay.
the biggest independent auto finance company in
Yep,
America.
in the country.
I think they have 14,000 dealers, and so they have some unique niche place in the market, meaning, for example, there's borrowers that have work permits to be in the United States, and they establish credit with those numbers, and so we have lenders like Westlake who are accepting it on self-employed. Like this is a big deal. Our earliest use cases are with self-employed people.
Okay.
And so Westlake is very tight with their funding, and they do a lot of verifications, a lot of validation, and the perception is that they're hard to get something through, but Westlake has experienced, just like everybody else, this fraud problem. And so they've tightened their verifications. Well, now they've told the market, they've allowed us to tell the market, look, if you have a TurboPass code, we'll just pay the deal. Same
How awesome
minute,
is that?
like, give me the code. The funder just checks it on my platform. It's a web-based platform. It's like they go to Google and check it.
Right.
They see what they got to clear. Oh, I got to clear identity, or I got to clear residence proof, or I got to clear a direct deposit, or I got to clear cash flow analysis of the last 90 days. Fund the deal. So now this is huge for a dealership, an independent small dealer.
Right.
In Austin. We have a big one in Boston, but we're getting them their money
Fast.
super fast. And that has changed the game and gotten Westlake more business from those dealers using the tool. Why? Because as soon as Westlake pays the dealer, they can go to the auction, get another car or two cars, sell it fast, get their deal funded fast.
Speeds everything up.
Everything's moving quicker, and it's just velocity. And so we've seen 40% increase in originations by lenders who use TurboPass.
That's huge.
Through that dealership.
Absolutely huge. Okay. So in a nutshell, the consumer wants the car. They don't want to deal with all the paperwork. Either they can bring the TurboPass in, or the dealer can text them.
Yep.
Okay. They link it up on their cell phone. The dealer gets the information, passes it to the lender. Lender makes a decision. Dealer hands over the keys.
Yep.
It just smooths everything out.
That's the idea.
Okay. Awesome. I want to talk a little bit about your crowdfunding campaign, because you guys are coming into the kind of final push. So you guys started a crowdfunding campaign on WeFunder.
Yep.
Tell us where that is in the process. You guys have already had some success. I think you've already met your minimum goal, and we're looking to push past that quite a bit. So tell us a little bit about that.
Cool. So in 2012, there was a law passed called the Jobs Act, and the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, hasn't, didn't get their arms around it until really 2017, 16, 17. And so a few platforms came out, and this is just, the Jobs Act said that small investors, everyday investors, should be able to invest in early stage startups.
Right.
Really has been something reserved for just accredited investors, rich people. This is how they invest. They invest early in startups, but they have to show that they have $1 million net worth, et cetera.
Okay.
That law changed the dynamics. And so if you can get your deal, and it's kind of like Kickstarter, but for startups, like software startups like ours, where it's not a physical product we built. But WeFunder allows us to go to their 400,000 subscribers. These are really, they tend to be younger millennials,
Sure.
people that are making money, but maybe they don't believe in Wall Street and putting all their money in the stock market, but they want to back companies they believe in. And so we had to really just tell our story, and we think we did a pretty good job with some of the video assets that we had already put in the can,
Right.
and really leveraged that, told our story, and then opened it up in October. I think it was like October 4th or something, and then that campaign hit the milestones, I guess, for the algorithm to trend our deal.
Cool.
So we got over the hump. We raised the first 25% of the goal in 4 days.
That's awesome.
Which put us at the top of a trending email, which was really cool. I got an email at 10 a.m. on a Thursday that said, WeFunder, these are the new deals this week.
Cool.
And the first one was TurboPass, and my brother's handsome face was there from your video. And I'm like, wow, I think this is kind of big. And then I started getting pinged on my email at 10:01, $200 from this person came in.
That's awesome.
At 10:02, $500 came in from this person. 100, 200 for 2 hours straight. It was like people were reading about us, checking it out, watching the video, throwing $100 our way, because either they've been through this process, they're industry insiders. In fact, our first investor that came in through actually one of my advisors sort of let the cat out of the bag. We were having a party. We did a launch party, and she put our deal page a little early. And a guy named Frank McKenna, who is in our industry, people know who he is, but he's a fraud expert.
Okay.
He's the CEO of a company called Point Predictive, and he's a former FICO guy, and he's has been frustrated with this whole dealers still send pay stubs over the fax machine.
What are you doing? Like
you got to be kidding me, right?
Security is, yeah.
And we've told Frank about our story and what we've built, and so Frank's always been kind of a backer and a cheerleader for us. But unsolicited, Frank goes, "Hey, I'll throw in $2,500
That's awesome.
to help TurboPass," and it showed his background and everything on the platform. We had a credit expert, John Alzheimer, came in for $500. John does some of the late night credit commercials with Larry King, and he's been on Fox News. So, and he knows the platform from my brother, who's the co-founder. And my brother's really more of the credit expert and compliance expert, and kind of one of the architects of how we built this to be compliant from beginning to end.
Right.
From consumer to dealer to lender.
So WeFunder. So as somebody that might want to invest in a startup, I don't have to have millions of dollars. I can go and invest $100.
Right. $100.
And I can invest that into TurboPass, and that's on WeFunder.com.
It's on WeFunder.com//TurboPass.
Okay.
Or they can go to WeFunder and search for TurboPass. But that campaign ends on Friday at midnight, January 31.
Which is 4 days away.
4 days away.
Okay.
So
we're
trying to get the word out.
So yeah, obviously if you guys are watching and you want to take a look at it, they've got an awesome write-up. I've seen quite a bit of it. I actually read the whole thing. The video that we created for TurboPass is on there. The whole idea of changing the way that people collect these STIPs is going to be an absolute game changer. And to be able to get in on the bottom level, the ground level, is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Where are you guys at right now on the campaign?
Yeah. So our minimum goal was 50,000. We hit that those first few weeks, and then they tell us that it goes into a little bit of a valley, and it was quiet for 45 days. And so now is the last push where people have been kind of sitting on the sidelines. We have about 200 followers. That It's interesting. We not only have 145 investors, but we have these 200 followers that are just sitting and waiting and seeing, are these guys going to hit their goal? And we did, but we have this early bird special that our first 100,000 gets a slightly better kind of evaluation cap concept. It just means if and when we have, when this convertible note converts to stock, you not only get a 20% discount from whatever our lead investor comes in as, but you get a valuation sort of floor or
Awesome.
or cap, right? And so we intend to raise more capital as we prove more things,
Right.
and present our case to larger investors here down the road. But yeah, you could support us. Technically, it's a loan that you're loaning us now. But then when we do a priced round, you will come in at whatever the price was
awesome.
that Mark Cuban or whoever wants to be the lead investor.
Right. And all this can be, it's all on the,
It's all
on the
disclosed
on the WeFunder
and
page.
the SEC really keeps a tight, lock on all this stuff. We had to do some financial reviews of our books. Obviously, we're losing money in the first year of any startup. You're losing money, burning cash. So we just need more money, more capital to really build out the network of dealers and kind of take this first mover advantage in this era. And I forgot to mention that the other change is, as we know, with all the data breaches, right, with Facebook and Equifax breaches, people's data is actually becoming a little more on their awareness,
Sure,
right?
and absolutely.
People are concerned about it. So we started building it from the ground up. Only TurboPass is only available and only usable with consumer express consent. So it's the first time a customer
give you my consent.
I'm going to share my information, and we believe consumers will share their data when it benefits them.
Right.
When they're seeking credit offers, when they're seeking a mortgage, when they're seeking a business loan, like, hey, this is me. I'm going to show you all my stuff. These are my Schwab accounts. These are my Fidelity accounts. This is my Wells Fargo account. This is me, kind of a digital footprint. And then the future really is put the customer out there. The customer will be the one to say, I want offers now.
Right.
And the best offer wins. And so this is how we built TurboPass, is to be on the front end of consumer permissioned sharing of data. And there's been 4 federal agencies like FTC, CFPB that have given positive guidance to technologies like this, because for the first time we actually have customers with some control over their financial offers, and they get to be a participant in that proactively.
Okay.
Everything else that has come before us is really just getting your data behind the scenes. It's legal, but I'm gonna withhold my
thoughts on that?
fire on that. But
okay, well, awesome information. Let's go over real quick, just in case anybody wants to jump on this in any form.
Sure.
So if you're a consumer, you can go to
myturbopass.com
and you can get your TurboPass.
Get your TurboPass.
Okay, if you're a dealer and you want more information, where can they get a hold of you?
You're going to go to nostips.com, click the little dealer button.
Okay.
Tell us you're interested, and we'll set you up with a dashboard, and we'll get started. It's a very simple subscription.
And lenders?
Lenders, same thing. Nostips.com. Click the lender button, and we'll give you a dashboard to view dealer reports.
Okay, and anybody
for free.
Anybody who wants to invest in TurboPass before Friday the what?
Before Friday the 31st at midnight, it's wefunder.com/TurboPass. Now, if you are an accredited investor, if you are an investor with what that means. If you are accredited, we obviously can talk to you beyond January 31st, and we are in the middle of a seed. I'd call it between pre-seed and seed raise, where we're raising. Our goal is about $1.5 million to get us through sort of an 18-month ramp as we roll up more dealers and we build the team. So
awesome.
If you're an angel that likes to angel investor, or someone who understands this problem, you're a car dealer that wants to bet on us, please look me up. Mike at nostips.com.
Mike at nostips.com. Okay, I think we got all the information. Mike, I love what you guys are doing.
I appreciate it, man.
Best of luck. And look to see you guys making a big splash in the auto finance industry.
Been my pleasure. Thanks, David.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, man.
Of course.
Thank you.